After 2 days of nearly incessant rainfall, the sun has made an appearance here in Austin, Texas, and we are set to go for race number 2 of the TC America, powered by Skip Barber Racing School weekend here at Circuit of the Americas. Hello, everyone. My name is Ryan Marine. Calvin Fish alongside. Amanda Busick will be patrolling the pit lane. Calvin, today's conditions could not be any different from the torrential downpour that we saw just 1 day ago.
Beautiful day, rapidly drying racetrack, and we should see some fireworks out there today because the times that they set for fast lap yesterday in the rain has determined the grid positions today. So you could see a lot of cars and drivers really out of order in terms of their potential performance in these much drier conditions.
What stood out to you from yesterday's racing? We've got the 3 different classes, TCX, TC, and TCA. They were all intermingling because of all the rain that we had on track.
They were playing nice together, and the TC cars really came to the forefront, particularly with those front-wheel drives. They're going to have a distinct advantage in the wet conditions with the weight over the driving wheels, of course. But I think today, those TCX cars, they have about 70 more horsepower than the TC class. You should see our championship leader, Jacob Rude, really go to the front and stay there. I don't think the TC cars are going to get near him today.
He had a solid start to the race, ultimately did fall back into the clutches of the TC field. Nevertheless, still picked up the win in the TCX class. How about the TC side of things? What a duel we had at the front of the field yesterday.
We did, and it was fun to see Jeff Ricker get that victory. Just really a superb performance. Came from deep in the pack, drove through the field, caught Eric Powell. Great battle for a while, but even with a reset with a full course yellow, he just took off and claimed a dominant victory. Second here at Circuit of the Americas, won here a couple of years ago.
And in TCA, Caleb Bacon picked up the win, held off Derek Jones. That's your front row for today's race as well. Jose Blanco, a fighting third, the open-wheel exile, finding a home in touring car racing and showing impressive pace in the wet. We'll see what he can do in the dry. He was impressive as well back in the season opener at Sonoma. One formation lap for the TC America cars here this weekend around this massive 3.426-mile, 20-turn Circuit of the Americas track layout. Calvin, what makes COTA a unique challenge?
Well, it's just unique in terms of the length of the track. It's a big, long lap, just shy of 3.5 miles. Very unique first turn. You climb that hill from the green flag. Everyone will kind of funnel up into turn 1. You can brake extremely late with 130 feet of elevation change. And as you tip over the top there, you then wind down through those S's, and they just keep coming at you. Track limits, always a factor here at Circuit of the Americas. There's so much runoff room, and you can take advantage of that, but certainly the stewards will be keeping their eye on that you don't get any distinct advantage from that. Long back straightaway, so you need horsepower down in the best overtaking zone down into turn 12, and then it really gets tight and twisty and technical to finish off the lap.
And where are those overtaking zones around this 20-turn circuit?
Well, I think with these cars, they perform in a variety of ways. So there's some that have a lot more straightaway, some have some handling advantages. So it's wide open here in terms of these classes, in terms of where you can overtake. But the prime one is down at the end of that back straightaway into turn 12. You can poke your nose into turn 11 as well. And the tight section from 12 through 15, you think there's really not enough room to make a move. But if you run the ideal racing line through there, typically you leave the door open down into 15. And sometimes, particularly towards the end of an event, someone will try and take advantage of that.
When we arrived at the track this morning, there was still some residual moisture on the track. One support race preceded this event. I do still see some puddling here and there, but I think that racing line ought to be awfully clean.
It should be, but as you can tell, you can see some dampness still out there. Certainly the painted lines are not going to get rid of the water as quickly, so you still got to be on your toes. If you got those loaded tires on the exit of the corners on those painted lines, you can still go for a ride. But as we said, lots of runoff area here, but there are some very fast sectors, so if you get it wrong in one of those, you can still have a big problem.
5 cars in the TCX field here this weekend. That's a jump from what we saw in the debut of the class at Sonoma, and the word around the paddock is there should be some growth. Right now, it's all the BMWs. That's all we're seeing as far as subscription in the class is concerned. This class, though, is open to older TCR-type cars with DSG gearboxes. We expect some more of those, more BMWs as well, and maybe another manufacturer kicking the tires.
Yes, I think certainly that class has started to bloom, and I think we'll see more entries at our next event at VIR. And I think those TCR cars with the DSG boxes, be curious to see how they kind of compare balance and performance-wise with the BMW, which right now dominates the championship.
It is a class on the rise, not just TCX, but this TC America platform in general, embraced by SRO championships now around the world. Really exciting there. But you can see the field starting to come into 2x2 alignment. There is that class split between TCX and TC. The TCA cars will be following behind. First 2x2 start of the weekend for the touring cars this weekend, because we had a safety car start in the rain yesterday. That ate up a lot of the race time as well, but a full 40 minutes set to go. Here comes the TCX field. Now it's the long trundle down the front straightaway, waiting for the green flag. Steve Strymer looking like he wants to make a jump, but our pole sitter Jacob Rude not ready to go yet. Now he is. Punches that gas pedal. Tom Hansing displays the green flag, and we are racing at COTA.
They can really control that very nicely from the pole. Let Steve kind of accelerate away. Then he is probably thinking, where's the pole sitter? Well, here I come, and he takes the lead, clears the field nicely up into turn one. You see those TC cars already on the back of the TCX tail enders right now.
And class split didn't last long, did it? How about that run? Samantha Tan in her second race in this TCX class had a great second place finish yesterday despite some adversity. Able to get a nice jump there from the second row on the grid. Meanwhile, it's side by side further back for the TC lead.
Yeah, it's getting pretty feisty back there. They're trying to take advantage of this traffic here and try and make some moves.
It's all mixed up there. Jeff Ricca in the Hyundai started on pole. Eric Powell alongside in the Honda. Kevin Boehm really charged up through the field yesterday. And Toby Grahovic, who had a great run going before being beached in the gravel in turn 19. He's in this mix as well.
Powell to the front, it looks like. Ahead of Jeff Ricca, Kevin Boehm making some moves. Had a nice solid run yesterday. Just missed out on the podium.
And hearing from his canvas, he
big
takes a
move
peek
down
to the
inside. Gets inside yesterday's winner, Jeff Ricca, and takes advantage. Tires still relatively cold. Not a lot of grip yet.
I think he was feeling awfully confident if the track was to dry out. Yesterday was his first race in the rain in a TC spec car, the reigning TCA champion.
Look at Jeff Ricca, though. It's an acceleration run down that backstretch, heading down towards turn 12.
This is a replay of the start for the TCA field, already wild even before they came and took the green.
Derek Jones off and back on in turn 20. Have to wait and see what the stewards think about that one.
He was supposed to be starting on the outside of the front row, so yes, that is curious indeed. So we are slowing down here, or it's just tight racing through this twisty portion of the racetrack. I think that is indeed the case. Little lockup, you see the tire smoke there.
So FEDERL didn't have a great day yesterday. That rear-wheel drive machine of his didn't really have the grip in the wet conditions, but he's had success here before. Sat on the pole yesterday and just had to try and hang on. Car did not look happy, but these should be much better conditions for him.
A race winner here a year ago at Circuit of the Americas in the second race of our first weekend at this track. Joe FEDERL with his first pro win just 1 year ago in Austinite, so very cool for him to get that win here on home soil.
Boehm has grabbed the lead. He has got around Eric Powell. He's gone to the front. TCA champion in 2020, making a seamless transition. He's got the DXDT support. Liked it this weekend with these awful conditions that he was under a nice awning for a change.
And Eric Powell back on the attack in that Skip Barber Racing School liveried Honda Civic. It's Civic, then Hyundai Genesis right behind. It's first through third in the TC field. All nose to tail as they head up through the S's.
Civic is a really nice turnkey package built by Gradient Racing, who compete in many different formulas in sports car racing. But it was great to see Jeff Ricca get that victory with Hyundai yesterday.
This has been a long-term project for Jeff. He's been racing Hyundais for a long time, but working on this TC spec car. Got a great run out of Michael Sousa to fifth in one of the races at Sonoma. A breakthrough win yesterday for Jeff, and he's trying to make up another spot. Just at the back of this shot is Kevin Boehm now has caught one of the TCX competitors. That is Hennessey just up the road, running in third in TCX, and side by side further back in the TC field. The TCA field, throw a BMW in the mix, and some body work, I think, for Derek Jones is flapping in the breeze.
Yes, Roy Block struggling here a little bit with his TCX machine, so the first argy-bargy of the day. Bit of rubbing, that's okay.
And just a little worried about Derek Jones in that Mini. Saw the bodywork flapping around. It was right around the wheel well.
See, the TCA start is under review, so...
And he was right in the middle of that too, wasn't he? Experienced driver in these Minis. There is also a TC Spec Mini making its race debut this weekend.
I had a close look at that the other day with you, Ryan. It's a wonderful machine put together. The first wheel lap at turn 2 was this weekend, so very early in its development process.
Taking a peek in at this battle for the top 3 spots in TCA. It's all happening right behind Hennessey in the 3rd TCX car, and it's broken off a little bit. See BOEHM able to build a gap nearly a half a second. It's about equidistant then back from Powell in 2nd to Rika in 3rd, and Toby Grahovic is hovering. He is right there. That car was fast in the wet yesterday. Curious what he can do in the dry.
Yeah, had an off late in the going in turn 19. He got stuck in the gravel, so that sort of plummeted him down the order, but he had a nice run going. Definitely a podium finish was in order, and maybe more.
The one who had a good run yesterday was Mike LaMarra. He's now moved up a spot around Austin Smith to get up into 5th in the TC class. We've got a car on the pit lane here. This is one of the Gen Racer cars. I believe that's Kurt Waschheim, perhaps. Yes, indeed. In the 2nd car out of the Gen Racer tent. Something went wrong there. Looked like they were changing a tire, maybe a little bodywork rub, and cut down one of the Pirelli P0s.
Caleb Bacon there won yesterday. The car of FARTUCH has the lead in TCA right now, and there's about a 2-second gap. It's a very impressive opening few laps for him.
It is, because he started in the 4th row, inside of row 4 in the TCA field. So he's been on a charge and fast, and it seems like up and down the paddock, the thought process was in the classes that have their race 2 grids set by fast lap in race 1, there are going to be a lot of comers and goers here today. The cars that are fast in the wet, not necessarily as good in these conditions.
That is for certain. It was a big switch yesterday. We saw a lot of the favorite runners who were very competitive in dry conditions fall to the wayside yesterday. Now is their chance to try and respond, but they're going to come from deep in the pack.
Nice run here from Mike Stillwagon as well. He's now been able to move up into podium contention in TCA, just ahead of Derek Jones. Finished 8th in both races at Sonoma to start the season, and one of those drivers racing out of the Skip Barber Racing School team side of things. They've got cars both in TC and TCA.
Up front, as we expected, Jacob Rude taken off here. Very impressive. He was, he really displayed a lot of patience yesterday with the rear-wheel drive car. He wasn't really a match for the TC front-wheel drive cars in the conditions, but just focused on the big picture of championship points. Got his 3rd victory, and today very comfortable up front, as you can see.
Picture perfect weekend for Jacob Rude at Sonoma. Fastest lap, pole, and win in both of the races. Got the class win yesterday, not the overall win in the wet conditions, but he's well on his way to that now with a gap of 9.3 seconds over Samantha Tan, who's running in the 2nd spot. And Jacob, it's a name we've seen in the series in the past, dating back to 2017, where he made 6 starts in a BMW M2 35 for Winding Road Racing Team, had some starts for Classic a couple of years ago back in 2019, and now reunited with Classic BMW here in TCX. Amanda Busick is down in the pit lane. Amanda, what are you finding out down there?
Well, I talked to Jacob's team earlier this morning, and guys, he's racing with a little bit of motivation here today. While he did finish 1st in the TCX class, he was bummed that he did not make that podium. So that gap that he has on that 2nd place car right now, he is driving with energy today, guys.
Wants that overall podium, that's for sure. Everyone does. Put extra bragging rights there. And yeah, he's been able to build that gap, definitely still on it, but I've been impressed with Samantha Tan in her 1st weekend in this car. She's been doing a lot of racing in Europe and the Middle East this year, and it's going to be slotting in a few of these races in TCX where schedule permits, it sounds like, throughout the course of the 2021 season.
I think this is a good fit for her. Ran in GT4 competition the last couple of years over here in Sprint X competition. So that TCX car kind of fits between TC and the GT4 machinery. It has about 370 horsepower currently with the BMW different power sticks that they can utilize. And certainly as we see different manufacturers and maybe TCR cars develop into that class, maybe they'll work with that to identify exactly where it needs to be. But I think it's a good fit for Samantha. She was just over in France last week running at Paul Ricard. So she's on a global kind of trot right now with the international travel. Not the easiest thing to get through right now with all the quarantine procedures and protocols in place, but she's certainly enjoying life.
Now, just a moment ago, we saw first, second, third, and fourth come through the screen in the TCA class. Looked like the battle closing in for first. We did see as well that Derek Jones had gotten back past Mike Stillwagon. That was for third in TCA. There's a look at the LAP Motorsports team that runs the minis and also is the team behind the LA Honda World banner, based in Brownsburg, Indiana. A lot of open wheel experience on that team, and seems like year after year, Louis Pericarpi and his crew, you see him in May at the Indianapolis 500. They get called up to help with some of the extra entries there. So extremely experienced team in all forms of road racing and even oval racing.
Yeah, well, they're racers at heart. I mean, Louis lives and breathes it. So if there's a race there and he can make it, typically he's going to be. He's been very busy developing that new TC platform. BMW there running wide.
Skip Barber Racing Schools cars.
He's under control, then he just sort of like blocked up and couldn't get it turned. Typically right at there, I mean, you tip over the top of the hill at the crest, you suddenly start to lose grip. So if you're charging in there with maybe 2 or 3 miles an hour too much speed, suddenly there's not enough grip as it falls away from you.
It might have been Lindsey Brewer we saw run wide there. That was about the 7th or 8th spot in TC. Joe FEDERL leading this train in the Tech Sport car at the front of that field there, and he's got a couple of hungry BMWs right behind knocking on the door. Again, FEDERL won a race here at COTA in this class just 1 year ago and was on pole in the dry for race 1, but then race 1 turned out to be in the wet. And as you pointed out, the rear-wheel drive nature of that car probably did not play to his advantage.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised, though, at his pace. Looking at his pace compared to our leaders right now, BOEHM and Powell, it's about 1.5 seconds off them, so I expected him to come a bit more to the forefront in these conditions.
I would temper that by saying I think he's been in traffic, and that might have something to do with it. He was running in that cluster of cars, and I think he and Lindsey Brewer there were scrapping for a position just a few moments ago. So we'll have to keep an eye on his lap times, because I'm in agreement. I think that's a car we expected to be one of the comers when we talk about comers and goers based on the dry race pace that we saw earlier in the weekend. The little bit of dry running that we had, it did seem to suit it.
See that dry line, the lap times are continually improving as we get more and more laps under the belts, more and more tire temperature being developed. They should be in their sweet spot by now.
Powell has gotten around Hennessey, as has the TC class leader, Kevin Boehm. So Hennessey, third in TCX, has slipped back to 5th overall, but now separates Jeff Rica, yesterday's winner, from the top 2 in TC. Jeff a bit behind, it would appear.
Boehm and Powell very evenly matched in terms of lap time, so I think Eric Powell's just going to try and keep Kevin in his sights here, look for a bit of traffic to maybe close that gap up and have another sneak at the lead.
1.2 seconds the difference, and in fact, Rick is separated by 2 TCX cars. Steve Strymer also in between. So third place in TC now, about 5 seconds or so behind the battle for the lead in that class.
There's Grahovic running in 4th position.
And he is 2 seconds, nearly 3 seconds behind Jeff Rica for the final podium spot. Keep an eye on his lap times. On that last lap, he was marginally quicker, so slowly chewing into that lead that Rica has over him for that 3rd position in TC. Amanda?
Yeah, there's a big, you guys will take a look at 1 and 2 in TCA. Caleb Bacon, the race winner from yesterday, he's noticing some gravel in turn 19, but he feels like he can really catch the Honda in sector 1, guys. So watch the cars during that sector. That's where Caleb thinks that he can grab on to Caleb.
And Caleb Bacon running right behind Carter FARTUCH. That's first and second in TCA. As mentioned, we did have one support race prior to this race, and maybe someone from that drug some gravel onto the racetrack, or maybe it happened here in this one. But if you've got gravel in turn 19, that's a pretty fast corner, especially with the way that they're allowing drivers this weekend to get up and use all that extra curbing on the exit.
Yes, certainly, and I had a chat with Caleb and his teammate Luke Grunberg the other day. They said this little Hyundai really has a lot of power, a lot of speed, so that's why it's really good through sector 1. But struggles a little bit in the handling department compared to some of the other competitors. So the balance, big lock up there by the 22 machine.
That is
Jesse Love had a double victory at Sonoma just a few weeks ago, so got to regroup here a little bit.
Busy schedule for Jesse. As we take a look at the replay here, this is 3 cars fighting for position on the track. Jesse just got in a bit too hot.
It's all part of that development process, and great to see TRD supporting their drivers, giving them this road racing seat time.
This is the reigning ARCA West champion in stock car racing. Jesse Love comes from a dirt track background, has made a number of starts at the Chili Bowl and in USAC Midgets and things of that nature. Toyota saw his talent there and snapped him right up. And given the amount of road racing that's on the NASCAR schedule these days, they saw the value in sticking him in one of these TCA cars, getting him some track experience. And it's worth noting, many of the tracks on the calendar for NASCAR are shared here by the TC America series. So NASCAR's going to COTA this year. They go to Road America, Watkins Glen, all tracks on the SRO calendar. And so that's valuable track experience when he gets up to the upper echelons of stock car racing where he aspires to be.
Yeah, it's really the perfect match to be able to run this championship and not only, as you say, get seat time on a road course, but also the specific courses that NASCAR are going to entertain this year. And it really seems that the NASCAR Championship's kind of gone for a couple of events. I think they have 6 this year, correct, in Cup on road courses. Right. So an amazing transition there, particularly the way they're going with their new platform for next year in the Cup Series.
Might be seeing more of the young up-and-comers getting a chance to cut their teeth in road racing. And Jesse's dovetailing this program with a run in ARCA once again this year. I know he was running in Phoenix the week after we were in Sonoma and had a nice run there with the combined ARCA and ARCA West field. So really cool to see Toyota and TRD's investment in road racing trickling down to the TC level.
See there, Hennessey a little bit sideways in that TCX, that white-colored BMW sitting right behind Kevin BOEHM, who leads this little pack that we're looking at right now. So BOEHM leads in TCA, and it's a TCX car. Hennessey Powell right behind that group. And Strymer, another TCX car. Starting to feel the pace a little bit now. So Strymer making the move from TC, ran in the TC class at Sonoma, but has bumped up to this TCX category.
And we're seeing both Strymer and Hennessey starting to pick up the pace, maybe both getting more used to these cars, because Hennessey actually just passed Eric Powell. Powell had been ahead in the overall order, and all of a sudden, after Kevin BOEHM made his way past Hennessey just a little while ago, he was able to close up on BOEHM just a little bit, and here you can see the horsepower difference between the two classes.
Yeah, cut and paste between the two battling duos there. So the TCX car is about 70 more horsepower, but Hennessey just struggling to get it slowed down there. Just missed his braking point a little bit and struggled to get to apex, and allows Kevin BOEHM to get back on with things. And that's a bit of a chess match for him. Looking at his rearview mirror, seeing where Eric Powell is. Now split by 2 TCX machines.
Yeah, that's not going to make Eric a happy man, is it?
No, it's a little bit frustrating, but, you know, maybe when they get up to Kevin BOEHM, Kevin may lose a little bit of lap time as he deals with that situation as well.
Podium positions up for grabs in all of these battles that we're seeing as far as the classes go. Here, this is where BOEHM is really strong in the TC car relative to TCX through these twisty sections, not as reliant on the horsepower. He's trying to find a way back because you can see how much ground he's lost, but you really can't fault Strymer or Hennessey. They're fighting for third and fourth in their class.
Yeah, and it's just hard to find a rhythm when you're battling out with different classes. Do you know what I mean? So for Powell, he's going to be thwarted with some of the advantage he has around this race circuit, but it's really like Kevin Bowman to take off. Look at the gap that he's now built there, with Powell kind of tucked behind those two TCX machines. I think as this track dries out, Ryan, those TCX cars should get quicker and quicker and really show their true performance. I think in the damper conditions, that's where those front-wheel drive Hondas really perform well.
A battle here between a couple of West Coast drivers in TCX. Strymer out of Washington State. Hennessey from Pasadena, California, finished fourth in Lamborghini Super Trofeo North America in the LB Cup class last year with a couple of wins, 5 podiums, 4 poles. That's his background. Strymer, though, the hard motorsports entry, just behind, making that transition up to TCX and getting more comfortable by the lap. Doesn't have much dry running in this car because of how much wet running we've had in practice in the race yesterday. So every lap is a learning experience. A little wide there from Hennessey. That might open the door.
Yeah, Hennessey's a little ragged right now. He just needs to really hit his marks here and try and lay down some lap time, because Steve's going to be frustrated as well. Steve is keeping it nice and tidy. Obviously has a lot more experience in this style of race car than Hennessey does.
This is your leader overall and in TCX. Jacob Rude has built that gap to 17.5 seconds over Samantha Tan, who herself has a 10-second advantage over her closest pursuer, which is the TC leader, Kevin Boehm. This is Samantha Tan.
You can see the way the drivers tackle these S's a little bit differently. Some will eat a lot more curb through the apexes, really just trying to straight line it a little bit more. Some drivers just get really comfortable with that. See there, Samantha's given up a little bit of room there. You can really cut through there a little bit more without unsettling the car too much. And be careful in the damp yesterday, particularly on the loaded side as you come off there through turn 10. Down in a deep brake zone here. It's a little bit bumpy there. She's staying on the regular line. You'll see some drivers kind of come a car width in there to avoid some of the bumps.
This is not over yet, is it? Steve Strymer putting all kinds of pressure on John Hennessey just up the road. Eric Powell watching. He's got a great seat, great view of this battle, but he'd love to put that in his rear view mirror. Here we go, though. Strymer with a little bit of a better run. It looked like he might be able to pull up alongside Hennessey, but Hennessey fending him off at least for the moment. See if Strymer can get it done under braking here.
He's certainly looking. The problem is when you get offline and get to the inside to try and outbrake someone, the racetrack is a little bit damper, so you're not going to get the grip.
Ooh, but Hennessey did slip up there, and that lets Strymer get to the outside. Now, can he keep it on the flank here through this very treacherous section?
So hard through 13 there to get the power down from that outside lane. Just doesn't develop the grip to get the traction. Hennessey again just missing his apex a little bit through 15.
Wonder if he's spending a lot of his time checking the mirrors, keeping an eye out for Steve Strymer, and just that little bit of distraction can cause you to miss the apex by an inch or two.
It's almost like Steve says, well, if I take the pressure off a little bit, if you can hit your marks, we can both take off here from Eric.
Is there a way to signal the driver ahead if you're trying to think along those lines?
I think it's more just your language in terms of how attacking you're getting into some of the brake zones. If you start to feint inside, it really just distracts the driver. So if you want him just to get into a rhythm, kind of gap this car that's behind you, just keep it in line, keep a nice 2-3 car length gap, and then go back on the attack. Plenty of time left on the board, 17 minutes to go.
Strymer takes a peek to the inside once again, but thinks better of it. This is all music to the ears of Kevin Boehm. Watching this out, here's rear view window. The longer this battle continues, the longer Eric Powell is likely to be stuck behind him. Plus, it prevents these two from catching up and perhaps passing him. It wasn't that long ago that Hennessey was on the rear wing of this Honda Civic from Kevin Boehm.
Boehm had such a run last year. Four-time SCCA national champion, and just was super consistent. He put in performances like he did yesterday, just grabbing big points, and then went on a tear with 5 consecutive victories.
ended up winning the championship by 62 points last year. Came from a long way back to do it after easing his way into the professional racing world, coming from SCCA club racing, running at the runoffs. And I had an interesting conversation with him at the airport, actually, leaving Sonoma, and he said he felt like he had to have that success at the runoffs before he could even think about going pro racing. That, to him, was the first box he had to check, because he felt like if he could win there, he would have a chance against the best of the best in touring car racing, and that's what he sees this as. And wanted to make sure that when he arrived, he was prepared for the challenge. I'd say he was.
He really was. This is a great little battle. Clay Williams having a nice day today. Didn't have a great race yesterday. Didn't finish the race, but really putting the pressure here on Luke Rumberg. Battle for fourth in TCA.
Williams in the Mini. Yellow with black trim, and then the Signal-sponsored Hyundai. That belongs to Luke Rumberg, who we've seen in the series in the past in a couple of different capacities, but seems like he's found a nice home here with this team.
He has a lot of TCR experience, but enjoying this move to TCA.
This isn't done yet either. Here comes Strymer, though. This might be the best look he's had yet. He's to the inside in the braking zone for turn 20. Can he keep it there? And is he able to roll some speed? A little bit of hip check there on the exit, but no harm, no foul. And it's now a drag race up to turn 1. The Hard Motorsport team thinks he's made the pass.
Might be able to make it stick. You see Hennessey there to the inside. You see there's still a lot of water on this racetrack when you're trying to brake offline.
Amanda, what's the situation in the pits?
Yeah, we had just talked to Brent over here at Hard Motorsports. That's exactly where they were directing Steve to make that pass. Prior to the pass, though, and looking for that gap, he was actually asking questions about Samantha Tran. He wasn't even worried about Hennessey, guys. He's on a hunt.
Focusing forward, that's for sure. He's going to have to really get on his giddy up here if he's going to run down Samantha Tan. She's quite a ways up the road. 15 minutes still to go. Strymer now 4th overall, 3rd in TCX.
Powell to the inside. Nice move there, set that up nicely. And I think for Strymer, it'll be really a key indicator to really compare, not this lap potentially, but certainly the next couple, to see his pace compared to Samantha Tan, then look at the clock, see how much time is left. Now that he's escaped Hennessey by 2 or 3 seconds.
Hennessey didn't give that up easy, did he?
Williams has gotten around Rumberg here on this lap, so that's a move up to 4th.
Move Clay Williams in the Mini, up one more position. Yeah, it started at the back of the field, actually, so this is really impressive. Absolutely last, 35th of 35 cars to take the green, and came flying up through the field and is now just outside of the podium, running in 4th. He's got 15 seconds or so to make up to catch Mike Stillwagon, who currently holds down the 3rd spot in TCA. 12 minutes, 50 seconds on the clock. Checking in with Stillwagon here. Yep, that is the number 2 machine.
Comfortable in 3rd, got about a 15-second gap to the chasing pack, and really drifting this race car around here. Nice stuff. Front wheel drive, just gonna use that power on the front wheels to try and straighten out as you're coming off these corners.
Goes to show they do teach car control at the Skip Barber Racing School. That was impressive. Quick hands and quick feet, too. In the front-wheel drive car, you can use the gas pedal to help yourself out in a situation like that, right?
Absolutely. And the nice thing with this circuit, in certain sectors, you can really do that and learn your craft and take a few chances with the amount of runoff room. Here we look at a car that's got a little bit of bodywork dragging on that left side.
One of the Forbush performance cars.
It's Caleb.
It is.
That's his body, so you can see that just kind of drop down. So I'm not sure if he took a bit of a rough ride, has been off road somewhere and just dislodged that. Not a big issue unless it gets under one of the rear tires and damages it.
That is the leader in TCA, Carter FARTUCH, and is right behind, 2nd place in the car just behind, as you see right there. So got a fight on our hands for the lead in TCA. Caleb Bacon's got it, but damage to that race car. And I'll tell you what, I think Carter FARTUCH smells blood in the water.
Yeah, he'll be looking at that body work and saying, well, he'd probably not maybe get a full course yellow, catch a bit of a break there, get a reset, and then he's a little bit closer to the leaders. But so far, it hasn't worked out that way.
Rob Hines is driving that Tech Sport Nissan that's a little bit behind, some serious front end damage to that car, so he has been waylaid somewhat, currently running in the 9th position in TC and just lost some of that body work.
Yeah, I think that body that work that was sitting there in turn 1 for a while probably comes from his car. Looking at the color of it, he's got bits dragging all over the place. Splitter or kind of flapping is probably going to create a big vibration at speed down the straightaways, I would imagine.
Former SCCA national champion in Touring 2, way back in 1999. A lot of experience racing at the club level. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it's going to be his weekend here at Circuit of the Americas. Hopefully, that bodywork can stay on there. We don't want that to come dislodged and bring out a yellow with just 5.5 minutes to go.
Seems to be handling it quite well. He's not overdriving the car, so when you have damage like that, it's all about just kind of understanding what grip level is still there and managing that without overdriving and making mistakes. But he looked pretty tiny still, even with that front end damage, and the rear balance is gone as well.
Number 780 car we saw a moment ago was Sally McNulty. Team Sally Racing Honda Civic. The smaller operations in the paddock comes from a drifting and time attack background.
I understand that she's now getting a little bit of help in the paddock with Victor Gonzalez, VGMC team as well, recognizing that she's kind of doing things by herself. So it's wonderful to see the camaraderie within the paddock, helping each other out.
Ran close to the full season in 2019, missed the Road America and Las Vegas rounds and finished 11th in the TCA standings in her first season of competitive racing. But definitely another great member of the paddock, and great to hear as well that there's a little bit more support headed her way.
Sometimes she works, then tows the car to the racetrack, gets out solo, drives it, wrenches on it, does the whole deal. So that's what racing is all about at that level. Just the passion is amazing.
And the day job is as a service advisor at an Audi dealership, so if she knows her way around the car from a mechanical standpoint, that definitely helps.
BOEHM here looking for his second victory on the year. And he just got his head down. I think he felt like this should be my day. I think he's probably a little frustrated. He's not used to finishing off the podium like he did yesterday, albeit just by 1 position.
You know, that's a good point. Looking back on last year's results, and I'm seeing 6 times he finished off the podium. All of them were 4th place finishes. So, yeah, he had a really good year last year and was always in contention for a podium or one of those race wins. And another guy who really knows his way around a car from a mechanical perspective. He's a senior vehicle dynamics development engineer and test driver for Honda Research and Development, and did a lot of test driving on the NSX street car when that car was first rolled out. In the newest iteration of it, I should clarify. He's not quite old enough to have been doing the test driving for the original NSX. This is your overall leader, Jacob Ruud, out in front, 22 seconds. A tour de force from Jacob here, as we saw in Sonoma. He's got his head wrapped around these TCX cars, and it didn't take him too long.
It did not. And a couple more laps for him as you look at the clock there. 3 minutes to go. Lap times, fastest lap is by Jacob at a 2:26.1. The 10's doing some nice laps now. She's really reduced that delta between fast laps to the day down to a 2:27.4, so just over a second slower than the laps that Jacob has turned to this point, but getting faster every lap, it seems like. And
with significantly less experience in a TCX car, back to Caleb Bacon here, still leading despite the damage in TCA, and actually looks like he's extended that gap over Carter FARTUCH now to 2.5 seconds. Mike Stillwagon still runs in 3rd.
Yeah, and I think he'll be very pleased. They expected to do well in the rain, but in these dry conditions, they weren't sure how they would stack up with the competition. So this is a big weekend to sweep, potentially grab 50 points on the weekend.
And for Caleb, had a podium in race 1 at Sonoma, finished 3rd there, 4th in the 2nd race, entered this weekend tied for 3rd in points, 23 points behind Jesse Love. And Jesse Love, who swept the weekend at Sonoma, has had a bit more of a learning experience here at Circuit of the Americas, racing in the rain, I believe, for the first time yesterday.
He handled it well, had a
Yes.
top 5 finish to back up his 2 wins at Sonoma, so that's the sort of performance. But I think most importantly, it's just the learning process, Ryan, to get those laps in those conditions yesterday, and that just goes in the memory bank.
And to your point, for Caleb Bacon, this is the bounce back weekend he needed. Not that Sonoma was a bad weekend by any stretch, but to score good points when the championship leader has a bit of an off weekend, that definitely helps vault you back into contention. Still very early in the season, it's worth noting. We have a long way to go. Rounds at VIR, Elkhart Lake, Watkins Glen, IMS, and a venue to be determined to make up for, unfortunately, the canceled trip up north to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Really hope we can return there very soon. It's been tough not to make that trip the last couple of years. One of the unique tracks in North America. White flag flies for Jacob Rude, who is out in front by a handy margin. Just continuing to clock lap times as within a 1/10 of his best. His last lap, a 2:26.2, his best, a 2:26.1. And that's
LaMarra's
unfortunate
off.
for Mike LaMarra.
He
He
had
is
a
buried.
really nice run here yesterday. Finished on the podium.
Was running 5th at the time.
I wonder if he got tipped there. I think that's the exit of turn 11, I think. Is it turn 12? I'm not sure, but either one is down into a break zone. If he was in a battle and just had someone down to the inside that pitched him around.
It's got to be so frustrating coming 1 lap shy of a top 5 result and have to sit and watch the rest of the race from the gravel trap. But Jacob Rude sets the state perfect here in 2021. 3 wins already, about to make it 4 in the TCX class.
He got into some
Yes.
tires there somewhere or got into a race car.
And there is some damage. You can see the mirror hanging, certainly left front
He's
has
turn
been
11.
into something.
The problem is with the TC field being so deep, he's going to plummet down the points order. May not even grab any points here today.
And here is BOEHM.
Needs to be smart here. There's no point in taking any risk with the gap that he has over Eric Powell, sitting at nearly 7 seconds.
Running right behind PJ Gronke. The TCA competitor, stalwart competitor in TC competition. Caleb Bacon still out in front. That's Luke Rumberg, his teammate, a little bit further back. Not a battle for position, but Rumberg making a nice solid day as well, just outside of the top 5. Now, Jacob Rude, what a performance it has been for him. You can see him in the back of this shot, getting ready to come through and take the checkered flag. Can't draw up a start to the season any better than this one. 2 wins at Sonoma, and about to make it 2 wins here at Circuit of the Americas. Jacob Rude, once again, a race winner in TC America, powered by Skip Barber Racing School.
Nice job, just was in a perfect rhythm all day. Got the jump at the start, played a little bit of a mind game with Steve Strymer there, and then Caleb Bacon, another great run, Ryan.
Damage and all, Caleb Bacon brings it home just ahead of Carter Fartuch. You see him cross the line behind, hand out the window as Caleb Bacon celebrates a well-earned race win, and that is a happy Forbush Performance Signal team down in the pit lane.
Team's turning into a little powerhouse team within the TC ranks. The Toyota Supra and GT4 competition as well here today.
And now we keep an eye out for Kevin BOEHM, a winner already this season at Sonoma, and now a winner at Circuit of the Americas as well. Kevin BOEHM, his 2nd win of 2021, and he comes in race 2 of the weekend here at COTA. able to bring it home, 4th overall as well. Samantha Tan, by the way, did hold on to finish 2nd. Steve Strymer made some inroads, finished 12 seconds behind her in 3rd. Then it was BOEHM and Powell, the top 2 in TC. TCX 4th place was Hennessey. Grahovic completed the TC podium. He was able to charge up to 3rd, just ahead of Jeff Rika.
Look at that fast lap by Jacob Ruud on the last lap. I think it's about a second faster than it previously done, a 2:24.2.
My goodness.
About 3 seconds clear of the field. Where did he find that from?
That is a good question to ask him when this is all said and done. Well, goes to show when you're in your rhythm, sometimes the safest thing to do is just keep on pushing. Trying to dial back that intensity can cause more problems than it solves sometimes, even with a massive lead.
Maybe there's a bonus point we don't know about. Or maybe he was thinking that's pole for the next race or
He
something.
wanted the crowd strike fastest lap, Calvin, and he got it.
He wants it all. He was greedy, but I love it.
Jacob Ruud, 2:24.229, blitzing the TCX field for the crowd strike fastest lap of the race. Now, interesting to see the TCX field come to the fore as the track continued to dry out. It was mostly dry when we got started, but there was still some moisture around this track.
Yeah, I mean, offline, if you're trying to make a move, you had to be careful and certainly think it through a little bit, but race conditions are good. I think it's going to be a wonderful afternoon. We've got some fantastic fields to enjoy through the remaining races today, and the racetrack conditions look to be pretty much perfect now.
And we get to go from strength to strength for TC America. Up next, as mentioned, a trip to VIR. That track so fast and flowing. Great challenge for the teams and drivers alike. Great place to display the capabilities of these TC cars.
Yeah, a little bit more old school. We went from Sonoma, an old school racetrack, this kind of state-of-the-art, the Formula One Grand Prix facility, of course, and back to old school racing at VIR, that ribbon of asphalt there. Some of the best in the country. Really looking forward to the visit next month.
Final results up on the screen. Jacob Ruud over Samantha Tan by just over 30 seconds. Steve Strymer finishes 3rd in TCX and overall. 4th overall, your TC winner, Kevin BOEHM. Eric Powell followed him home about 6 seconds down the road. Really got held up by the TCX battle at one point, and I think otherwise we might have had a duel between those two. John Hennessey in 6th overall, 4th in TCX. Toby Grahovic completing the TC class podium ahead of yesterday's winner, Jeff Rika, and Joe FEDERL able to recover nicely from a poor starting position, courtesy of struggles in the wet yesterday. Got his car up inside the top 5 in TC.
TCA runners, you can see there, Caleb Bacon sweeping the weekend. Nice run by Carter FARTUCH, an excellent start, had the lead for a few laps, then Caleb just chased him down, but he certainly kept him honest for the rest of the run. Great run for Stillwagon as well, taking that final podium position.
Yeah, 2 podium spots for the Skip Barber Racing School team, right behind Bacon from Forbush Performance. Clay Williams from the LAP Motorsports team in the Mini had a nice run there as well. There's Luke Rumberg and another Forbush car, and Jose Blanco continuing to learn the ropes of TC racing as he makes the transition from the open wheel side of things. And Amanda Busick is down in the pit lane with Jacob Ruud. Another race win for Jacob, Amanda.
Oh, yeah, and a blistering 27-second lead, Jacob, after yesterday in your first rain race. Compare both races and how today you were back in that #1 spot on the overall podium.
Well, I think on this track I'm really comfortable in the dry. The guys at Classic, we've done some testing here before, so I know I'm really comfortable in the track in these conditions, so I was able to start out front and keep it there.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And congratulations indeed. Great start to the season for him. And be curious to see who emerges as a challenger. Perhaps Samantha Tan will. She had a great run to 2nd today. That was awesome to see.
It was. She really got into a nice rhythm towards the end, and as we said, almost matching Jacob until he laid down that last lap flyer, kind of put it all in perspective there, and probably got everyone scratching their head about his pace.
Samantha's had a good start to her year. She got started early racing in the Middle East, where she won her class in a couple races there, and that kind of led into some of the endurance racing she's been doing over in Europe here in recent weeks, as we talked about. Look at that celebration from the Skip Barber Racing School guys. Carter FARTUCH on the right. Gets Eric Powell still with the helmet on. Maybe Mike Stillwagon just celebrating as well. And Amanda has another one of our race winners down in Victory Circle.
Kevin, the booth throughout the race, they were talking about the consistency of your team now in the TC class, but you still maintain qualifying. You maintain position of finish. And what advantage do you have on the field in the TC class?
I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just that we never stop trying to find the next little thing that'll make us go faster, and that goes for on the track and off the track. We keep improving kind of things behind the scenes within how our crew's working. We keep finding little things with the car that makes it drive a little bit better, a little tires longer. Just it's all these little things that by themselves you don't notice, but when they add up, it makes for a huge result.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Spoken like an engineer, right? Always looking for that little thing.
Yeah, and it's cool. They have the Operation Motorsport. They have a couple of vets integrated with the team this weekend, Sergeant Cody Reinecker and Chief Master Sergeant Craig Neary. So great to see those guys helping and getting the success for Kevin.
Yeah, Operation Motorsport, such a neat initiative to find ways to get veterans from the military involved in motorsports and use some of the skills that they learned from their time in the service. And that's definitely been a big part of that program. Back to Amanda.
Well, guys, there's a very proud dad just over my shoulder, Chad. When you look at the support from your family, Caleb, you open up your weekend here with 2 wins. How do they propel you?
Oh, I mean, it's just great to see everyone out here and to get the win on Saturday in the rain and then to back it up with getting a win in the dry. It's just amazing to bring it home for Matt and everyone on the crew, and thanks to everyone out here who got the car ready, and, you know, just so excited after bringing home 2 wins.
Congratulations, Caleb.
Thank you.
Gotta love that excitement.
Yeah, I think he's even more excited than yesterday, because I'm not sure he expected today. Yesterday he thought he might be the favorite, and he brought it home today. Wonderful result.
There was a little surprise in his tone, wasn't there? Highlights from race 2 of the weekend here at COTA. You saw a moment ago the start for the TCX and TC field. This is the start for the TCA field, which was reviewed at one point. I think there might have been some action taken there, a little side-by-side action.
Points, but nonetheless certainly makes it entertaining here today.
Yeah, definitely interesting. This was a crucial part of the race. These two battling for position. Steve Strymer, John Hennessey side-by-side, and it ended up splitting first and second in TC. Kevin BOEHM used that to his advantage, and Eric Powell in second never could quite recover. This is where that bodywork came off of Rob Hines' car.
Just off the racing line, so we were able to continue green all the way.
Jacob Rude out in front, nearly picture perfect. You see the checkered flag displayed for him, that quick dive down to the pit wall to salute the crew, and a perfect start to the season for Jacob Rude. 4 wins in as many starts for him. Samantha Tan celebrating a second-place finish here today in TCX. A couple of second-place finishes for Samantha in this weekend's racing. Well, that's a wrap for TC America, powered by Skip Barber Racing School here from Circuit of the Americas. The series heads on next to VIR.